Let's go!
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Bingetown TV. My name is Kyle, joined by Kathleen and Luke to discuss episode 8 of House of the Dragon, titled Lord of the Tides. So, ton of hype going into this episode. I actually got a kick out of, I saw a tweet that was like, oh my god, like this episode's rated 10 out of 10 on IMDb with like 160 votes before the episode even aired. I was like, you can't put any stock into that. But I thought that it generally lived up to the hype. I don't think it lived up to the hype in the way that I was anticipating. You know, there wasn't like scenes that I thought were going to happen, but nonetheless, and speaking mostly about Aemond in that sense, fantastic episode. It was a little bit of a warm up succession battle. It was kind of a little low stakes succession battle before we get to the main event, and I was more than satisfied.
Yeah, I mean, Patty Considine, I think his name. I don't know that we figured out the pronunciation of the last name, but snaps, baby. What a journey. Absolutely just deteriorating for 8 episodes straight.
Yeah.
And he nailed it. And this episode was just like absolutely chef's kiss, cherry on top. R.I.P. the boy. I will miss Viserys. He was quite the king. I got a lot to say about his reign, but also just in general, this episode really made me think about what I thought Daemon was going to be and how different he is. I really thought he was just going to be the big bad. I was like, oh, it's going to be Rhaenyra versus Daemon. And now the way it is, I'm so shocked from where I thought from episode 1 and 2 we were going. And I just love it. I thought this episode was awesome. Some really like corny moments, which I loved. I texted the boys that last night. No one answered me. So
It was
they wanted
late.
to talk about it on the mic, but yeah, great episode. What about you, Luke?
Just going right into King Viserys, like Patty Considine is a blessing to the Game of Thrones universe. He is one of the best characters to ever walk through it. I was a little indifferent about him in the beginning because I thought his weakness was going to play out in a way different way, but how it kind of turned into him being like slightly the mediator between Team Black and Team Green. He was always like riding for his family. All of that was really good. And he was just like his relationships, ups and downs with Daemon was like really satisfying to see, and how that ended up them being in a good spot made me feel just he was so good in this show. And I am happy that like we're starting to move forward. I'm ready for Rhaenyra to take the throne, and we're finally getting to that point. But just fantastic episode. I kind of agree with you guys that I don't want to say it was the best episode. I still think episode 7 might have it for me. But Aemond, oh my God, he is just my new man crush. I loved him as Baby Monk in The Last Kingdom, and he does so much with his body language, so much with just his mere presence. He is the exact same as Daemon, where just them being in a scene makes it better. And I'm just so excited for how he gears up, because it seems to me like he is going to be like a 1v1 Daemon at some point. And I just imagine like in my head how epic it's going to be having Vhagar being ridden by Aemon versus he's Syrax, right?
Caraxes.
Sorry, Syrax is Rhaenyra's, but that's just going to be so freaking epic. And just like their preview of it with the stare down at the end of the episode was just amazing for me. So it's going to be really fun to talk about, because now we finally have our final form of the actors that we're going to have for most likely 3 seasons.
All right, so we can now dive into the actual episode itself, go into our scene-by-scene method that we usually use for all of these episodes. Opening scene, we have Rhaenys, the queen who never was, sitting on the driftwood throne. I guess that's the throne she had to settle for in her life. And we're talking about Corlys. Our boy Corlys has actually been stabbed in the neck in the stepstones, and he's pretty sick. So they're kind of, now becomes this question, which is the question of the entire episode, of who is going to be the next Lord of the Tides if Corlys actually ends up passing away.
Hope he doesn't fucking die. That's our boy. An off-screen death can't be true. It's
No,
just
there's
for
no
the
way.
drama.
Totally. If they off-screened him by the end of this episode, I would have been absolutely pissed. And for the life of me, I cannot cement it in my head the difference between who has the dragon of Baela or Rhaena and who is
Baela.
with who. So Baela has the dragon, and Baela is the ward.
Yes, Baela is Rhaenys' ward, so she lives and stays with Rhaenys, and then Rhaena is Rhaenyra's. Essentially, it seems like she is Rhaenyra's like cupbearer. She's just kind of like the right hand. Yeah,
because she stays with Daemon, her father, just in Dragonstone.
yeah. I think she's Rhaenyra's cup. Like she's like the royal cupbearer to Rhaenyra.
Cool.
Yeah. So we get sneaky Vaemond. So he was being a little shisty last episode with the eulogy. I really almost fumbled all over that word. With Lena's funeral, and he throws in that little pot shot at Rhaenyra, which Daemon chuckles to. And here he goes full out, not even just, he says it straight out. Granted, he's only talking to Rhaenys, that obviously Rhaenyra's kids are Strongs. They are not Valerians, so Luke should not be the one to inherit. Vaemond, in his mind, is the last true-blooded Valerian, so it should be his. And Rhaenys kind of immediately shuts him down there.
My heart dropped when you said Luke. It's like, oh, wait, what? So you were queuing me up or something.
You know, the at first I'm like, enough with like the true born, like who gives a fuck? But later, and multiple times when they do it, when they lay it out, being like, if we have to go to war, you really want this little baby kid leading our fucking fleets? Like, what the hell? And I'm like, they're not wrong.
Right.
And for that reason, I think all this is like kind of worth the Vaemond being pissed about it. And it is his family, and they did survive the doom in 1,000 years or whatever the fuck. So I do know, but a lot of me, like when it comes to like Alicent and Otto, they're really just being like, we want to make sure that everyone knows that Luke and Jace is illegitimate. So there's always some like sketchy motive behind it. But if it really truly was just for that motive, I'd be like, you know what? Not wrong.
Yeah, I think Vaemond totally has a point. Especially like you said, when he brings up the family, the whole bloodline survived the doom of Valyria. They were one of 2 families to survive that, and they're going to be done in with this, and he's obviously not going to take that. And he meets an interesting end, which we'll talk about because it was one of the craziest moments of the entire season.
So this is exactly how I expected Corlys to respond to all of this before we got the confirmation that he was actually all in on having Luke be the Lord of the Tides. So like, it's just weird that it came from his brother, but it does make sense. Like, I'm not going to say he's wrong. It's not like petty, like you guys are pointing out.
Yeah. Also, just to point out, Rhaenys, so good. She is A+. I just love that it's been like 16 to 20 years since the first time we meet Rhaenys, maybe even more. She hasn't aged a bit. She's a dime.
Got younger.
She's fucking gorgeous. Love that bitch.
She would have been a great queen.
She would have been a great queen.
Yeah, she sits well on that chair, I guess you could say.
Yeah, big time.
All right, so we now move from Driftmark. We now move to Dragonstone. So we get Daemon harvesting some dragon eggs. Interesting that they're showing us this level of detail. It's kind of cool. And Daemon is then informed of Vaemond's newfound confidence in himself and his claim to Driftmark by a letter that he gets from Baela.
And did you say that? I think you might have already brought it up about the 3 eggs that people think are Khaleesi's eventual eggs. They're not these ones, right?
That is a terrific question that I don't know the answer to.
Because didn't you bring it up at some point throughout the season? Because there were...
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. That's such a good question, but I'm hesitant to confirm that they're these eggs, but it definitely is eggs from this time period that are rumored to have been hers, yes.
And it makes sense because, Rhaenyra being the one who her dragon gave birth to the eventual dragon eggs that would go to Khaleesi. It just seems kind of poetic if that's the case, but I'm sure there's absolutely no confirmation of how they would eventually get to Essos and find their way.
Oh no, there's totally confirmation of that.
Oh,
there's
really?
A story in Fire, about someone like a Targaryen princess. It's a woman at the very least, steals them and runs away with them.
Cool. Okay.
But I'm only hesitant to confirm that they're these only because I want to say that it's actually Dreamfire, Helena's dragon, who gives birth to the eggs. That's definitely not the right way to say that, but produces the eggs that become Daenerys' dragons. Because I think Dreamfire and Drogon, they made them look similar on purpose in the show.
All right, we'll check that.
Yeah, we're getting into territory of me talking out of my ass, so I think that's the last thing I'll say about it.
Okay.
All right.
I almost, just to cut in, like, you almost forget that Daemon has 2 kids. Like, one's just off with Rhaenys, and the other one is Rhaenyra's cupbearer, or whatever you said.
Yeah.
And it's just like, one's over there. It's like, okay, send a note to dad. At first, I was like, oh. I'm like, oh, fuck, that's her dad.
Yeah.
You forget. It's weird.
Yeah, I think it's also kind of a question of how often have they seen each other in the past. We know now it's 6 years. They say it a little later, and I mean Driftmark's not far away, so I'm sure they see each other often. But it is just kind of interesting that she just gets raised by her grandmother instead, for almost purely political purposes.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure Daemon isn't really complaining a ton. So right after we get this the scene with Daemon, we then get Rhaenyra and Jace. This is just a great Jace scene. Jace, like Luke had mentioned last episode, he really seems like he cares a lot about his kind of station, as he will end up being the new heir once Rhaenyra ascends to the throne, and he's really working hard to learn High Valyrian, which is honestly cool to see. I really like the line he says that like a king should care about kind of the traditions and everything of their forebears. But that lesson gets interrupted by Daemon coming in and just being like, hey, that Vaemond guy's being a fucking cocksmack. We're gonna have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra's pregnant again, which you
Yes.
think is maybe like her and Damon's first kid, because we've got a little bit older than a toddler Joffrey like playing off to the side, but it's actually revealed to be her second kid with Daemon, or third.
Correct.
Third. Two popped out, maybe twins, maybe Aegon's a little bit older than Viserys, it seems.
Yeah, Aegon's a
Can't
little bit
believe
older.
We have another fucking Aegon. Like, give it a rest.
They do. It will eventually become Aegon the Elder is Alicent and Viserys' son, and then they call this Aegon, Rhaenyra and Daemon's is Aegon the Younger.
Okay.
Wow.
So
One thing I took away that really stuck out and makes me sad to think about is that Rhaenys is kind of holding a grudge against Daeray, because they obviously put the blame of Laenor's death on her. And this is what I was like thinking about when last episode happened. Like, I totally would have cut them in on this conversation for this exact reason. This is enough for her to go to war with her, but luckily she's a rider for the Targaryens and gets over it because of the amazing marriage proposal that comes soon, which is really amazing. And it's finally one that gets instantly accepted, like the last 7 should have. But it does make me upset that Rhaenys truly thinks that they killed her son, and I hate that.
So I think in that case, they maybe could have told Rhaenys, but they can never tell Corlys. Rhaenys would want her son to be happy and maybe could get over it. Corlys would be like, "Fuck you, you're not fucking doing that." Chain him to one of his ships.
Yeah. No, you're right.
That would totally be seen as like the ultimate act of cowardice, basically just running away from his family name. I mean, good for him, but yeah, no, I don't know if Corlys would ever really stand for that.
Yeah, but Daeray, you can tell versus Daemon with anyone else he's been, they care for each other. They give each other looks, and you're like, wow, they are husband and wife. He like all episode he's riding for her. So that's good stuff.
It's great too. And we also get here, they talk about how Rhaenyra mentions how it's kind of just a known thing that the High Towers are pretty much rolling in Viserys' name. We get obviously a lot more of that later in the episode. And also Vaemond says it in the opening scene where he says, like, there's not a king that sits on the Iron Throne, it's a queen now. So Alicent obviously has been making a little bit of a name for herself in the past 6 years for kind of stepping in Viserys' stead. So moving on now, they are going to King's Landing. This is Daemon and Rhaenyra, and I'm actually looking at my notes, and it autocorrected to Demon and Rhaenyra, so that's kind of funny. So the whole family arrives at King's Landing, and they arrive to no greeting, other than a slightly late Lord Caswell, who we mentioned in episode 6, is the first person to congratulate Rhaenyra for Joffrey's death. So Lord Caswell obviously has a little bit of a soft spot in his heart for Rhaenyra. He was literally the only guy that showed up at her little greeting. And the interesting thing is that we move kind of right into the small council meeting after this. I think we can talk about the two scenes kind of at the same time. And it's just, Daemon and Rhaenyra feel so out of place back in the Red Keep. Rhaenyra even mentions that she doesn't even recognize the place anymore. And then we immediately get into the small council where we see Alicent at the head of the table and Otto, and they're clearly just running everything. Their hands are in every part of the Red Keep at this point.
Yeah, Lord Beesbury at it again, boring everyone to fucking tears. This guy's such a clown. But I thought it was interesting because it kind of had to be explained to me in the behind the scenes why it looks so different. And they do talk about Alicent and the 7 and the religion and stuff, but there's like the 7-pointed star that they direct the shot right through it as they walk in. And they explain it as there used to be kind of like poppy Targaryen art all over the place, almost like porn someplace, like some like,
Yeah.
like paintings on the walls and stuff. And now it's just like religious stuff. It's dark. It's like depressing as fuck around, which you have to explain that to me. I'm never going to pick that up, but that's why I watched the behind the scenes.
It is cool that there's just some subtle world building going on there that's going to eventually lead to what it becomes in 160 years at this point for Game of Thrones, and like where we pick up where the Seven is just the popular. I'm sure it's already the religion of Westeros, but it's just way more prevalent in the Red Keep and stuff. And that's just awesome that it's slowly happening, because I was always questioning, like, how do all the Targaryen, like, what happened to all the Targaryen stuff? Was it just Bobby B coming in and just taking it all out, or did it something like this happen? And it's kind of cool to see that it was actually Alicent that got the ball rolling to start pushing the whole country towards this religion.
Yeah, the High Towers have a really special relationship with like the faith of the Seven. The High Septon and everything used to be based, and I want to say almost is still based, but out of Old Town. That's where like Aegon was kind of actually crowned by the High Septon in like that's where they kind of gave up essentially and surrendered to Aegon the Conqueror in Old Town. The High Septon places, I'm pretty sure, a crown on his head and everything. So the Old Town and the High Towers are also connected to the Maesters, because that's where the Citadel is as well. So the High Towers are a pretty well connected family. So we also learn here that the Stepstones have kind of been vassalized, because Lord Viserys keeps droning on, like Kathleen said. But the really interesting, or not the really interesting, the second most interesting thing I will say to me is that Harold Westerling, who is still the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, comes in to announce that Daemon and Rhaenyra have shown up. And Otto mentions that, like, making sure that they got the greeting that they were instructed to get. And Sir Westerling is like, yeah, like, of course. It's just funny that, like, they have the Kingsguard getting into the petty war that they're with, and they don't really have a choice, because I mean, it's the Queen and the King, the Hand speaking as the King, are telling him to do these things.
Just a power move.
Yeah. It just breaks my heart a little bit that they're weaponizing them like this, but that's the way it goes. The actually big thing that happens here, though, is the discussion of Luke's legitimacy as heir, and we get Tyland Lannister, and I just know him as Ironrod, who's the new Master of Laws. I dropped his name in the other episode, but I just don't remember off the top of my head what it is. He's the Master of Laws, and the two of them kind of join in and are like, yeah, I don't think that he should actually be the heir to Driftmark.
It's crazy because they say that, like, it was never officially put in stone that Corlys made that announcement, but I thought it was, which is kind of weird. I don't know what you need to do to make it a royal proclamation, but it is interesting that Corlys never actually did it. And maybe it was spawned by Luke's desire to not really want it, but that seems a little wrong in terms of how Corlys treats it.
Like, what it's going to be like for a royal proclamation, like, what do you have to do, is the theme of this episode. The last like fucking minute of the episode is that is the question. So I hope we do figure that out. I'm sure Kyle knows. Do you know? Can you tell us?
A little confused at the like what Corlys
like, what
would have
makes
had
it
to done.
Permanent? I don't really know what would make it legit.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's, to Corlys, it's probably a thing of like, he's just so convinced that it's going to be Luke that it's not even really necessary to say anything about it. Like, he doesn't feel like he needs to like go tell the king. It's just like, that's just the way it is in his head.
Right.
But it's just interesting that Lord Beesbury is kind of taken aback that they're saying this, because Lord Beesbury, in his mind, it's obviously going to Luke because Luke is Laenor's son. And he says, what grounds? And then Ironrod says, what grounds? Yeah, what grounds indeed, Lord Beesbury? What could it possibly be? So obviously even the small council is in on the fact that Rhaenyra's sons are bastards. All right, so we get, after the small council meeting, we get Alicent leaving. She's going to now greet the guests, like she probably should have done at the front door, but she gets stopped very quickly by Sir Eric Cargill, tells her about a delicate situation with Aegon, and we do get a little bit of word building here as well. I just personally thought this was the smartest way to possibly introduce this Kingsguard character. We haven't seen him before that I know of, but he has a twin named Eric, and she calls him Eric and says, no, I'm Eric. So it's like, okay, right there, boom, like one sentence, world building. We know there's twins. There are two of them. They're both in the Kingsguard. Like, I just thought that was really well done.
Are they their family relative? Like, are they important?
They're twins.
Yeah, but like it's like their house.
Yeah. I mean, the two of them are certainly important.
Okay.
Oh,
Cool.
Yeah, they definitely have a big role to play.
So we can maybe just, do you want to just cover this like sexual assault, basically, like Allison?
We can do that and then go to Day with Viserys.
Yeah, because they kind of flip back and forth, but Aegon is such a dick. Like, why did he write this kid so terrible? I fucking hate this. But I mean, Allison is doing this thing where she's like believing women, but then like scaring her straight into not telling anybody. But it's interesting now, after it took to the second watch for me to realize that the woman in the room that's listening and like is helping or whatever, whoever that woman is the same woman at the end with Visaria. So that was supposed to be like kept hush hush and secret, but there she's telling our little finger Visaria about everything. So it's, I mean, I don't mean to like keep hopping around, but in the next episode on that little boy, I assume the potion, the like potion didn't work, and that is the kid. Like that is, I assume Diana had Aegon's baby because the elixir didn't work.
Yeah.
And that's the little baby you see in the next week on there, where they're like, there's a secret or some shit, because Miss Arya knew about it and she probably tracked down Diana or something.
Otherwise, why is it important?
Baby. What?
Like, otherwise, why are those scenes important if it doesn't turn into a kid and having that information being weaponized in some way?
Exactly.
Yeah, they did just an incredible job, and obviously Olivia Cook gets a ton of the credit for this. Of Allison is both like at the same time, she's being so like nice and kind in a way, but every like second that I was watching it, I was just assuming like, okay, like where's the rub? Like where is the death gonna come? Like she's obviously gonna kill her. Like it just kept going like that, and then they pour the tea, and I'm like, okay, it's obviously poisoned. Like there's no way it's not poisoned, and then it just ends. And Allison was actually kind of not sweet, because she totally throws some thinly veiled threats at her, but it's like you said, that she has that whole believe women line, and it just was so like unexpected the way the scene was handled in a good way.
I would have dropped $1,000 that she was not making it out of that scene. Like she was killing this girl right when she hugged. I thought you were gonna hear that, and then like dead, something like that. But Allison surprised me all throughout this episode. Even when she has the nice moment later with Rhaenyra, I just didn't think we were gonna get that. I didn't think it was gonna get better before it gets a lot worse. But it was nice to have this little hiatus. I do love how she treated Aegon, and I'm really pissed that the only nudity we got this episode was his pale ass when she freaking pulls the blanket over. I was like, what is this? But on the matter of Aegon, I'm very surprised that he didn't change in like at all. Like he might as well be the same exact character, and it's gonna make for some fun dynamics, and it did with like all the joking around and him trying to bully Rhaenyra's kids later. But I really didn't think he was gonna be as like one-dimensional as he's kind of coming off as. But it's fine because it just leaves more room for Aemon.
Yeah, fair enough. I think with the kids, they're all like supposed to be not like a representation or like a manifestation of Allison's parenting, of like her letting this grudge and like perceived danger get to her so much that it affects her kids. But he even says here, like he says, I did not ask for this. I try so hard, but it will never be enough for you. And I just feel like she is, while she's trying to like bend him to her will, she's just pushing him farther and farther away, which causes him to be worse and worse in her eyes, which then causes her to get harder and harder trying to bend her to his will, which causes him to go farther and farther away. I just think that's like, Allison she's just gone so deep down that road that it's now just infected her kids so deeply as well, and it's just kind of all fucked up.
When she says you're no son of mine, I'm like, damn, that's cold. Yeah. But also, I don't know if I think it's maybe the next scene or something. Someone comes in looking for Diana because she's supposed to
it's Helena. Somebody. She gets her intro.
Yeah. Helena. Why does she hug her?
I just think maybe because Helena's the only kid that she has that doesn't cause her fucking constant issues.
Wait, you said that was Helena?
Yeah, that was the daughter.
That's the daughter's wife. That should be the daughter's like Helena's rooms, right? Like if they're married, like
Yeah,
that's why
they're
they sleep
married.
together. So yeah, that was like her coming back.
She
Yeah.
is such a funny character, Helena.
I love
her.
She's
Yeah.
hilarious.
I love her. And
She's
she was
so
not like
good.
this in the books. I mentioned on a different episode, but literally the only thing that is found out about her, not really found out, but in the books, is that people just say like, "Oh, she's going to be a great mom." They're like, she doesn't really have like the distinctive like otherworldly attractiveness of other Targaryens. You know, she's a little plump, but it was always just like she's going to be a great mom.
She's just like quickly turning into a fan favorite, just
Yeah,
like the
she's great.
purity of her. She's a dreamer, so she's constantly dropping these foreshadowings. She does another one that I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. But Kathleen, for us, it's like Last Kingdom Resurgence Part 2 between her and Aemon. It's just amazing to see. Like I didn't even love her character in The Last Kingdom that much, but I'm still so hyped to see her. Just because in some way it feels nostalgic, but also she's just pure. And like I like Helena's character pre-time skip when she was the other actress, just because she's like that, just eccentric character. So it's going to be cool to follow her along. I can't imagine she has like an evil bone in her body.
Yeah, no, Helena's great. And it's also, I think, again, she doesn't have any level of expectation cast upon her by Alicent. She's not forced to be anyone that she doesn't really want to be in any way. And I'm not saying that obviously it's Alicent's fault that Aegon is raping people and is a fucking drunk, but I just think that that's part of why Aegon is the way he is. Obviously, he's a grown man and makes his own decisions, but Alicent has obviously kind of pushed him in a certain direction.
What are the ages right now? Like, how old are we thinking Aemond is? Like
It's so
18
tough.
and
I think Aemon
Aegon's
is like
20?
late teens, and Aegon himself might be like young 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sold.
That's the way I'm kind of thinking about it. I've yet to see anyone like compile an actual timeline
Yeah.
of of everything that's happened. Maybe we'll get it at the end of the season. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
All right, so to jump back in time a little bit, we'll kind of combine Rhaenyra and Daemon going to Viserys' room for the first time in 6 years. They're expecting to see a father, a brother, and they get a breathing corpse laying on the
It looks
bed,
like a snack.
which was fucking wild to see. And I mean, I love the gold shirt and the little frilly cuffs, but other than that, our boy is in fairly rough shape.
Viserys is the spookiest thing I've seen all October.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Period. He is so scary. The bullshit that this man has gone through, it's out of control. I mean, when he takes the mask off later, it is shocking. So shocking. But I will say Matt Smith played this Daemon scene so well. Like his brother, who he obviously grew up with, they were best friends until they weren't. And you go in expecting to see your brother, and it's just this like kind of awkward. It's like anyone who's ever had to go visit a family member who's like on the way out, and it's devastating and weird and awkward and sad. And you're just kind of like tiptoeing around the bed and talking to him. And he's like, "Get my tea." And he's like, this he's trying to help him, but he doesn't know how to help him. He played it so well. And Rhaenyra was like heartbreaking. See your dad like that, it's devastating. I love the scene, even though it was short, but anything with Viserys this episode was an A+ for me.
He's just like tripping all day on milk of the poppy, just like out of his mind. I couldn't even imagine like the pain he's constantly in. And it gets gross when we finally see what his rest of his body looks like. Like that was harder to watch for me almost than like some of the pregnant or the birthing scenes. Like, holy shit, it was gross. But my boy's not in good shape, but it is, I guess it paid off for him not dying in that 10-year time skip that Kathleen was complaining about, because we got to see the actual, like him rotting alive. So
yeah,
16 years since he fainted at Rhaenyra and Laenor's wedding, just in case you're wondering.
That's nuts when you say it like that. But our man's a trooper. He's a king. And also there's definitely a level of like them like just barely keeping him alive so that they can just be the actual king. The High Towers this is.
Yeah.
And he even says it here. He's like, petitions, nah, Alicent and Otto do that. Like like milk of the poppy, that's me. Petitions, that's them. Y'all got any of that milk of the poppy? Yeah, it's just, and then, like you said, it's really tough for Rhaenyra and Daemon to see him like this, especially because Daemon how kind of not desperate, but they need him. And Daemon is trying to talk to him in the scene, like you gotta back Rhaenyra and you gotta back Luke's claim up, like you gotta do this for us. And he's just like, oh fuck, this might not work out.
Interesting
Mhm.
how Daemon is now riding for Luke and Jace. Like he is like fully a father figure to them, seemingly throughout this whole episode. He's the guy. Like later in the episode, when the boys are fighting the other boys, Daemon kind of steps in and is like, go away, go to your room, and they go right away. They're
He's
good
not
boys.
he's not a stepdad. He's the dad that stepped up.
Oh, love that. I never heard that before. That's
That's
cute.
where he's at.
I
All
would
right,
be so scared if he was my stepdad, though. I would never want to displease him.
Yeah, especially if you were in some way. Well, I think part of it too is that they're not really in his way towards getting any type of power or something that he wants.
True.
So like them happy makes Rhaenyra happy, which makes him happy.
Mhm.
So I think that's the quick calculus that he's doing in his head.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, because I don't think. Well, I mean, also I feel like he also respects a little bit of the memory of Sir Harwin. I think that he has a certain level of like he's okay with Rhaenyra and Harwin's relationship that they had because I think he was happy to see that Rhaenyra had found someone in that time.
Right.
They don't really show it a ton. I'm just kind of assuming that that's kind of where he's at. All right, so we get a great scene is that Rhaenyra and Daemon kind of have a little bit of a confrontation with Alicent where they just I mean, they don't directly. Daemon directly says it that they know that the High Towers are up to some shady shit with Viserys. They're just kind of drugging him and just doing what they want with the kingdom. And Alicent reminds them that she will be the one presiding over the succession discussion tomorrow. So hopefully the father is just and make sure that justice is dished out.
I'm gonna defend Rhaenyra or Alicent for 1 second here and just agree with her on the part about the milk of the poppy because anytime it's wearing off, Viserys is just like screaming in pain. So I don't think there was any way around that part. So they shouldn't really be coming at Alicent for trying to like make him feel more comfortable at least. But it obviously they're looking at it from a ruling standpoint.
Yeah, I like Daemon when she says, I don't exactly remember the exact phrase she says, but essentially like they're just kind of embodying and transferring the wisdom of the king as like servants to the crown. And Daemon kind of just chuckles and is like, and how does he tell you that wisdom? Through fucking blinks and wheezes. I was like, damn, that's a great point though. And even Rhaenyra is like, oh yeah, the maesters recommend milk of the poppy. I bet they do, you little bitch.
That's the part
Daemon follows that up. Yeah, with I mean, I'm all in on the Maester conspiracy, so I agree with Rhaenyra here. She's very savvy and smart. But Daemon kind of sarcastically says, like, I'm so sure that you're doing this out of mercy for Viserys, but what's good with removing all of the Targaryen heraldry? And that made me laugh earlier, Kathleen, when you were saying that, like, the example you had used of what they took away was all of the sex scenes on the walls. And Daemon was like, yo, where's the Targaryen heraldry of all the people fucking? What's good with that?
That's so good.
Yeah, that's great. And then, like I had said, Alicent kind of puts her foot down, tells them that she still has a lot of power here. Her and Otto will be presiding over the proceedings, like I said, and that she'll forget that they made the accusation in the room. So obviously things have not gotten any better in the 6 years that they've been apart. They're still kind of at each other's throats. So next we move to the children. So we have Jace and Luke wandering into the practice yard to reminisce a little bit. I'm sure they're thinking about Jace at this point is thinking about how his daddy kicked the shit out of Kristen Cole. They're kind of reminiscing about like old scars that they made on the walls and stuff. And Jace is in a great mood while Luke is very observant in the sense that everyone is looking at them because they know what's happening tomorrow. And he is very self-conscious about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a good fight. It almost seemed like Jace didn't realize who was fighting before he was pumped to go see who was like sparring. And then when he saw it, he was like, "Ooh, fuck."
Yeah.
Like if I'm Luke and I'm the one who sliced this guy's eye open, I'm running away so fast. Aemon shot up to 6 foot something. He is like a bad dude. He can like go toe to toe with Kristen Cole. He's a bad dude.
So I think I figured it out after my second watch of why Aemon is just like looks so crazy and why he's just like this presence. And it's totally it's totally because he just opens his one eye as much as he possibly can, so you can see the whites above his eye, which is like it's actually like a mental condition if you do that like naturally. So it's like it just it makes you look crazy. People used to think like you could like like you get a lobotomized basically because you're just a psycho. And the way he does it, like kind of on purpose, just to like intimidate people, it's fucking awesome. And the way that he is already a proven good fighter because through the transitive property, I think that's the right way to say it, he beats Kristen Cole, who beats Daemon in a fight. That's kind of badass. Like that's a that's a something on your resume right there. And then is that a Valyrian steel sword that he has? I don't know if that's anything yet.
I don't believe so. I want to say it was just some type of. I don't know if they were using their actual weapons or a practice, like metal practice swords.
Like, do you know if he has one at this point?
No, he should not.
Okay.
Aemond?
Well, because Viserys
yeah.
technically would have Blackfire, while Daemon has Dark Sister, and those are the two ones that they have.
Okay, but either way, great intro.
Rhaenyra has a little
Viserys
necklace
is
she
getting no
can
use of it.
pull off and slice someone with.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, when you become the king or the queen, you get Blackfire. So to do with kind of as you wish.
He just ends that like confrontational fight by like without even like looking at his cousins. He's like, "Cousins, you come here to train," and he's just like
nephews
or nephews. Sorry, nephews.
Yeah,
he just
which is even better.
Antagonization, like conflict, and he'll do anything to kind of like step it up. He's like, "Fuck your tourneys. I don't give a shit about that, Kristen Cole. Like I'm out here for blood, basically."
Yeah, he's very, very, very serious.
Yeah,
an eye patch definitely makes you look more serious.
Like he had a lot of good looks all episode.
Yeah,
and he keeps his mouth a little bit open. Like I don't know if you've seen the stills. Like he and his chin like kind of pops out and his eyes all. He's crazy, man. He's the best.
Yeah, and we get so what would have been an amazing continuation of the scene is interrupted by fucking Vaemond, kind of trying to come in and swing his dick around a little bit before his petition in front of the Hand and the Queen, and it just makes Luke very uncomfortable because he's like, oh crap, like that's who I'm going up against, and he's almost like looking at himself like, damn, I'm just this little brown-headed boy.
I think Kathleen covered what the conversation that he has in the small council with Otto, right, about the Navy, which is very true. Like it almost makes you want this to go that way. Because that's the most eastern part of Westeros. So that's going to be the first line of defense. And that's like the head of the entire Navy of the Westerosian army. It's just, when you think about it like that, it's like, okay, this guy's got some points here.
Oh, for sure. And Otto is, I mean, there's a little bit, it's not a double entendre, but he's also not just talking about the stepstones.
Yeah.
When he says that, like he has been saying for fucking episodes that war is gonna come if Rhaenyra becomes actually comes to the Iron Throne. He's obviously thinking war is both stepstones and the potential of what could be coming in the future. And Vaemond is a little, wink, wink, nudge, nudge of, I would be eternally grateful to whoever made me the heir to Driftmark, So he's obviously Team Green at this point.
Yep. And
he's letting him know. So now we get another discussion. Little backdoor dealing. We get Rhaenyra and Rhaenys in the Godswood. So the Godswood's seen a lot of great stuff in this show so far. And they discuss the succession, they discuss Laenor, and they discuss marriage.
Rhaena, Rhaenys, and Rhaenyra.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. Well, Rhaena was named after Rhaenys, so I guess that gets a little bit of a pass. But yeah, the Rhaenyra thrown in is definitely a little bit of a jumble.
Yeah, it's good to see Rhaenys call Rhaenyra out because you can't just ignore it if you actually do think she killed Laenor. No way she believes Rhaenyra saying, I loved him, I promise, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm with Luke. I think she should have elbowed and said, he's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, just give her something. But
he's getting absolutely boned overseas. Having a great time.
Honestly, good for him. He escapes all the bullshit.
For real.
But Rhaenys is just continually proving my first take of her just so wrong. Like she's just an awesome character, and I will forever regret throwing some slander her way after the first scene with little Millie, because she's a great character. Like I said earlier, like this is just a smash accept to that offer, and she basically does in her head, and she plays it up in front of like the king and the count and in the throne room later in just the best way ever. She's just smart. She's a good Targaryen. She's always going to be riding for the family, and she's just enjoyable to watch on screen.
Yeah, she's great, and again, I mean, Viserys, great guy, but Rhaenys totally would have made a better queen. I think because Viserys ended up being king.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, no real hate. I don't hold any hate in my heart towards Viserys. That's my guy, forever and a day. But it becomes more and more obvious as this season has gone on that Rhaenys was probably the better choice. But everybody was only thinking about the little sausage between his legs, as Mushroom would say.
Correct.
And I have a question too, because so Luke, you had just said that she kind of accepts it in her head, but it's like she totally rejected it, right, to her face.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just the reasoning she uses where she's like, tomorrow the High Towers will land their first blow, and they'll take you or they'll put you to your knees, and like I'll need to stand alone. And both times I watched, that just went over my head. I was like, I don't really know what she's saying here.
She's basically being like, I can't betroth my granddaughters to your kids because you are not like, this is the first blow that the High Towers are going to land, and it's just going to continue. You will not be the queen.
Okay, so she's like, yeah, basically saying I'm not going to go into the losing side.
Exactly. But she sees it turn when Viserys walks in, and when Viserys says, only person I could think of in this room that has anything that is of value is Rhaenys. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I agree with that.
Yeah, yo, cuz, thanks.
Yeah. No, like, you're totally right. I forgot about that line. Like, she didn't accept it in her head until that part happened. But I forgot that part. She plays the game.
She was like,
exactly.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah. So we now move on to what in the moment was, in the first watch, was a little bit of a heartbreaking scene, which even gets worse on the second watch because of what happens in the final scene. But we get Rhaenyra going to Viserys, and she's venting a little bit. She's asking for his help a little bit because the burden of ruling is too much for her in this scene, and she's kind of begging him for his help while he is begging the Lord to take him away. And he just can't do anything for her. He's just so zooted off the milk that he can't even form a sentence. Yeah. And I just think, I mean, this scene happens quickly. I just the biggest takeaway I had from it is that I just think it's great that we get to see this side of Rhaenyra. Like, very honest, vulnerable. The moment is feeling too big for her. It's nice that we don't, like, she doesn't need to be this like emotionless badass chick to like make us all like her and, you know, to make people be Team Black and stuff like that. I just like that they threw in this moment of vulnerability between a daughter and a father.
And they had to ruin it by bringing up the Song of Ice and Fire.
I know.
Yeah.
So when Viserys says my only child, I love that. It seems like, I mean, Viserys does not have a relationship with any of Alicent's kids. You know, I truly do feel like he's like, Rhaenyra is my girl. And I think last episode you had brought up that with him and Aemma, like, he's just going to ride for Rhaenyra no matter what. Someone may have brought that up, or maybe it was someone else I was talking to, but it's like, he feels so guilty about what happened to Aemma, and he like loved Aemma so much, and he loved Rhaenyra. So he's just going to ride for Rhaenyra no matter what. He doesn't care that the kids are illegitimate. He knows it for a fact. He doesn't fucking care. And is there another, did you have another take on why he said my only child? Was it that he's totally goofed out, or do you think he just meant like, you're my one true like kid?
I think he's just getting loopier, and like, it's like kind of like Alzheimer's a little bit. Like, he's just losing it, but
yeah, he's just forgetting things, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Daemon literally says to him like a couple scenes ago, he tells him straight up what happened to Corlys, and then a minute later he's like, "What happened to Corlys?"
Yeah.
So I think it's like about that.
Never mind,
totally. And it's just kind of like built into his subconscious that Aemma is his wife.
Yeah, that's true too, because we did get him saying to Alicent last episode he calls her Aemma.
Exactly.
True.
Yeah.
All right. So next morning, Viserys has shown some signs of life here a little bit. He's actually making sentences. He's getting some new dressings, and he actually rejects the milk of the poppy from Otto in this scene, which obviously plays in very importantly later. I'm just curious. I mean, Luke, obviously you were very uncomfortable during this scene, watching this man just struggle and see all the sores on his back.
It was just like Sam Tarley doing up Jorah, like
Yeah.
just pus and
Ooh.
skin lesions. Oh God, awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just what a journey what we've been on since. I mean, it's episode 1, right? We get him in this same kind of chair, and they're poking at the little thing on his back, and he's like, burn it! Like, come on, let's get on with our stuff. And now he's like so incapacitated that he can't even move on his own. Like, they need to shift him.
Mm-hmm.
Him moaning, like he moans for probably like a full 3 minutes of this episode, and it's just so believable, and like you feel so bad for him. And Kathleen, you mentioned it earlier of how great Patty is acting in this episode, and it was just like literally fantastic. I just felt like this man was like a real guy who was actually sick, and it was difficult to watch.
They superimposed Patty's face on another guy, obviously, and another guy with that like skinny body, and it just made me laugh. Whoever was explaining it on the behind the scenes was like, he has this like great rib cage that they really like accentuate with like makeup and stuff, obviously. But my notes just says this is the saddest. He is dead.
Yeah.
Like he's literally just a corpse, like you said, Kyle. It's fucking so sad.
It was the longest episode of the season so far, and I have not that many notes because of how much airtime he takes up, just moaning, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Like so many scenes are just slowly trickling out words.
Yep.
But it was just, I mean, it was done fantastically. It was the longest episode, but it really, I remember watching and looking down, and it had already been an hour, and I was like, holy fuck, like we're almost done this thing. And last thing I will say about this, I just love the little bit of not even banter that he has with Otto, but like, again, showing that sign of life where he's like, I want to have supper, motherfucker. And Otto's like, it's the morning. And he's like, tonight, you idiot. He's like, I'm not dead yet, dumbass. I still I can think about things. I thought that was great to see a little bit of fight from our boy Viserys.
Love it.
All right. So moving into this, probably the first huge scene of the episode, we get the petitions. So we get Otto lounging around in the Iron Throne, saying that he speaks with the king's voice, and they're going to decide the petitions for the succession of Driftmark. But after some, I guess we have Vaemond's kind of getting into it, Rhaenyra's getting into it, Rhaenyra rather, and then our boy Viserys comes to save the day. So a lot to talk about the scene. Just whatever you want to bring up first, and we'll take it from there.
I want to bring up right away the King Viserys' awesome mask. I don't know if it is the exact same thing, but is that the second son's like kind of mask, or is that completely different? And it was just a coincidentally gold, like
with the Sons of the Harpy.
Or sorry, that's what I meant. Sons of the Harpy. Yeah.
It looks so similar to Crab Feeder's thing.
Yeah,
too,
exactly.
Which was the Sons of the Harpy thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was on purpose, but I agree that it looks fucking sick.
Yeah.
They didn't mention that on the behind the scenes.
Well, maybe they forgot, Kathleen.
I was just saying.
Did you guys see the thing making its rounds about when King Viserys is walking up the throne, how the crown falling off was totally like not planned, and then when Matt Smith went up and picked it up, that was like all kind of improv, which is amazing, especially on your second watch through. Like they have dialogue that's just completely like on the spot, just made up, which is amazing.
I thought it was like so sad that Daemon went, like great, sad, but it made me sad that Daemon went up and helped him. It's the only help he would have accepted.
Yeah,
that was great because they literally show, and I think it's actually Kristen Cole who tries to help him at first, and he's like, I can do this, and then he relents to Daemon, which I think is just, again, great symbolism as well.
What does he say? He says, I will sit the throne today to Otto.
Yeah. And Otto and Alicent are like, fuck. And Vaemond.
Vaemond.
Yeah, Vaemond looks at them and is like, yo, what the fuck? You were supposed to be drugging this guy. Yeah, he was pissed.
But I will say that Alicent seems truly sorry for Viserys. Like she's not like a queen like Cersei, who would be like so sick if Bobby Baratheon was just like ill as fuck and she got to make all the decisions. She would be like purposefully like punching him when he's sleeping just to like make it worse. Whereas Alicent's like truly feels sorry. You forget because of last episode, she really went a little crazy, but she has some like real empathy this episode, I feel. And that has a lot to do, I think, with how Olivia chose to play her. I think Olivia is a fucking perfect Alicent, just like Aemma is a perfect fucking Rhaenyra. I'm
It's
so
great.
glad we have those two actors as them because phenomenal, both of them.
Everything the show has done that we've kind of questioned at any point has just been proven wrong, or rather right to us. Like every decision that they've made almost, like, and initially it's kind of like, and then literally the next episode something happens and it's like, fuck, okay, they were right. That was great.
Mhm.
Because I remember we were a little apprehensive, and I know like the general narrative was apprehension about losing Millie and Emily, but
Yeah.
it's just like you said, it's been fantastic. And also with Alicent, like you said, we're getting a little bit of empathy from her. I think it's also that's a lot of the character they're trying to portray of she's not wishy-washy, but it's like she's kind of wavering a little bit. Like she's not all in the way Otto is all in.
Mhm.
You know, she still has that shred of empathy and compassion, and it's not like she's just like cold-heartedly doing things for power. At times she will do things like that, and then she'll turn around and have compassion for someone, and it's kind of like it's a little bit of like a conflict almost internally, it makes it seem like.
And it feels weird because based on our past with Game of Thrones, like we're all expecting the worst out of people at most times. Like that's why when Diana was having the pregnancy scare, we were all thinking that she was dead. Like,
Yeah.
but when it doesn't happen like that, it's kind of like subverted expectations a little bit. And it's kind of cool because Game of Thrones brainwashed us to think that everybody is out to kill everybody. And when a character like Alicent, who's the head of Team Green, or maybe will become the head of Team Green if it's not Otto, it's just interesting to see that she's not purely anti them yet. It's cool.
Yeah, she's a fantastic character.
Yep.
All right, so we get Viserys, like Kathleen had said a little bit earlier, of I honestly I was a little nervous at first when he's like I had to express my confusion, and I thought he was gonna be like who are you people, or like where am I, and something like that, you know what I mean?
God.
And it would have like all went south on them. But it turns out that he is honestly just still he's such a fucking playful little guy. I love that that's such a King Viserys way to like present what he's actually trying to say here, of that it's a settled matter that Luke is going to be the heir, but he has Rhaenys step up and confirm it. And Rhaenys also, like we've said, accepts the betrothal offer from Rhaenyra. The Greens are pissed. Otto and Alicent are like, what the fuck? Vaemond's obviously in his own little world. And Aegon laughs. I like that they gave us that Aegon gets a little bit of a chuckle out of it.
Also want to point out that Bela was pretty hyped too, I guess, because she is now marrying into the throne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck yeah. That sounds great.
So Vaemond stepping up and being like, no. Like you breaking laws and doing all this shit, and you're gonna tell me who's gonna like inherit my blood right on my birthright, things like this. And he's not wrong out of anything. Except for when he calls my girl a whore. That is where I draw the line. And that's when he gets his head sliced in half by my boy. Like, that's it. But he's not wrong with anything else. And he speaks for all like the extreme Team Greenest when he's like, you're a whore and your kids are bastards. Fuck you. I don't really see.
There's no Valarian.
I don't really see any Team Green people at all in any of my feeds. So I don't know if there are any like extremists people, but Vaemond, I mean, the actor who played Vaemond crushed it. That was an awesome last scene. Loved when he spoke to High Valyrian last episode in the beginning of the funeral. It was good, but that was fucking sick.
Every time I see Vaemond, I think of that fact that you told us about how how prepped he was for the High Valyrian. You always respect an actor that gets that into the role.
Yeah.
And I want to bring it back real quick though, Kyle. You mentioned it and I wrote it down too. And I want to just air it out. Why did Aegon smile when that got announced? Because I can't think of a reason that he's like in for this. Is he just like
loves
chaos?
I think it's the chaos, actually.
But I thought that was more Aemon's angle. I think Aegon
it's twofold.
just wanted like the easy, just fun life.
I think it's twofold in the sense that he knows that his mom, like the plan is being a little bit foiled right here, and this was not expected. So I think it's one part of it is like, haha, like fuck you, mom. And then the other part of it is that what we see later when he's actually like fucking with Jace and Bela, I think he like thinks it's funny that the two of them would be betrothed together.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah, because he does then just is relentless at the dinner table, specifically
Mhm.
to Jace and Bela. So
But
yeah, he's just a little smack.
dude, Dark Sister, that's the sword, right?
Yes.
Just oh my god, this was just awesome. How clean it was. Damon's little freaking remark when he says like a second before when Vaemond's going on his rant, he goes, say it. And then he does, and like 3 seconds later, and it's just so good, man. I think even after the head got cut, I think Aemon smiled at this point. Like
Yes.
he gave a little smirk. It's just he just loves chaos too. Like this is gonna explode in the most entertaining way on earth. It's gonna be fucking amazing.
Yeah, they really are just like putting all of these pieces in place and then just dumping a bunch of gunpowder on top of it.
Yeah.
And they're just gonna
So I know he's not going to be, but could Damon get in trouble for doing that?
no.
Okay.
No. The king basically sentenced him to death right there.
He said tongue.
That's death.
I don't think anyone was gonna no one's gonna come crawling out of the woodwork to defend Vaemond.
Yeah.
I mean
no.
in the books he has sons, but in the show it doesn't seem like he has any other family.
So we can just skip ahead because I say so. No, I'm kidding. But when Rhaenys is at the table and he's laying there and they're like fixing him up, what do you think is going through Rhaenys's mind? Like just staring at this half beheaded man.
Yeah, so first of all, wild that they gave us that shot of his dead body laid out on the table with his head just kind of there, but a little bit of space between it.
Yeah.
But I think we actually talked about this when we watched last night. I think so. She knows that he's actually Corlys's last blood relative. I think it's more of like a reflection of what she's done. Like she knows that she just ended the Valerian male line right there.
Male line.
Yeah, obviously her daughters or her granddaughters rather are still alive, but that's what I think it is because she even says to the Grand Maester, where she's like, oh, like the stranger's visited me so many times, like so many people in her life have died, like she's not afraid of that kind of stuff. I think it is truly like potentially looking at the last Valyrian, because obviously she doesn't really know what's happening with Corlys yet.
Yeah.
I was getting major House of the Black and White vibes here, like with the faceless men cleaning up the bodies and stuff. I thought they were gonna drop a little subtle hint because that'd be sweet if there were like just a backdrop conspiracy, because that's a big thing in Game of Thrones. But that's just what I thought of when I saw them cleaning the body.
I wrote that down as well, so that's funny.
Nice.
All right, so we now move to. I'm trying to think if there was one thing I wanted to say, but there's not. So okay. So moving into what is now the Last Supper, Game of Thrones style, and again, just another huge scene. A lot of things happen, but this is Viserys. He's taken the opportunity that's been presented to him of everyone's under the same roof for the first time in 6 years. So he wants to have dinner with everyone. He wants everyone to kind of get along because he knows he's going to die soon. And a valiant effort, but obviously it all crumbles when he's not there. And so just so many good things to talk about. I don't really have one I particularly want to start with. So if someone's chomping at the bit with something, I think we could just jump off.
Let's do pre and post Viserys leaving.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll split it up like that. So if Kathleen, you want to bring anything up first?
I thought this is where the corny stuff comes in for me, but I love it. You know, I do. Like, I don't know. I want to talk about every inch of it. Like, even so, Aemon is taunting the kids, and then Aegon is taunting the kids, and then Jace is just dancing with Helena, and I'm like, yeah, this is great. And then there's like scenes with Otto and Alicent like geeking out, funny. Daemon and Rhaenyra Dayrey just absolutely having a blast. Viserys is like looking side by side, devastated. Like the music starts getting sadder and sadder, and everyone's having a good time. And I'm like, what show am I watching right now? Never in my life have I seen this from Game of Thrones universe. It's crazy.
It was beautiful. Like they have their talks in the beginning, but the thing that stuck out to me as the most shocking of this entire episode was Otto sitting back, clapping and like joking around. That was more shocking to me than Rhaenyra just like belly laughing with Daemon, which was like cute as shit. I love that.
Yeah.
But oh my God, I was like, Otto, you can party, bro. Let's get it. Cause you never see that out of my man.
Then who brings it out of him?
Was it
Helena.
Or was
Yeah, Helena
yeah,
makes the
she's-
joke about Aegon and like being married, or whatever, and Otto laughs and gives her a little clap. And he's like, "Good."
Wasn't that? Yeah, that was right before they danced, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That
awesome. He's
was
like, good. He says, good.
that was
She's all
such a
happy and
sad
shit.
toast by
Oh, yeah.
Helena. So sad. She's like, they'll mostly just ignore you unless they're drunk. So good, happy to have you. And
Yeah, but it was also like the most actually sincere one, and she's
Yeah.
like, and people get a chuckle out of it, and it kind of like breaks any type of awkwardness.
But Allison's and Rhaenyra's were sincere. I was shocked by Rhaenyra toasting that because that was, Allison's whole character is duty, right? She had to do this from such a young age. She's marrying the king who's 30 plus years her senior, maybe. She has to have his kids. She has to lie with him, even though she doesn't want to. And it's like, that's all she kind of wanted to be recognized for. And Rhaenyra stood up, who was her ex-best friend for a million years, and said, listen, I love my dad, but I have to commend you. You're the one who's faithfully stood by him all these years. You were loyal, and I appreciate that for you, and I owe you an apology. And I was like, damn, Allison was like welling up. She was the welling up emoji with the cute eyeballs, like big time. And then she's like, well, I have one too. And then they keep going back and forth. It's like freaking Bridesmaids. It's insane.
It was
though.
good, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't even like that reconciliation doesn't even get broken like it does by the whole like outburst by that Aemon causes. But even after that's done, she's pissed at her kids for ruining that. She's like, go to bed. Like, I'm sorry. Like, Rhaenyra, come back on Dragon back. Like, let's, it was genuine. Everything about it was genuine. It was really awesome because I thought at this point, 8 episodes in, we were getting way farther, not closer to like kind of being friends. So something super crazy like a death is going to happen for one of them to really snap and like cause conflict again. And that's probably what's going to happen next episode. But it was just a shocker that we got this level of reconciliation.
She says you'll make a fine queen. That is that's insane. That's a huge line drop. That reminded me of when Viserys straight up told Millie's version of Rhaenyra, like, you are my heir forever. It's like, wow, okay, done. It felt like like a final thing. And they shoot to Otto when she says that. Otto, he doesn't really do too much, but they just want you to know, like, Otto heard that.
Yeah. And he obviously probably has some thoughts about that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, all of the toasting gets kicked off by just an amazing speech from Viserys. It was like unbelievably emotional. What he was saying in this scene, it was really crazy. And I mean, it's long, so I won't want to say all of it, but I just like that he says the crown cannot stand strong if the house of the dragon remains divided. Set aside your grievances, if not for the crown, then for this old man who loves you all so dearly. And I was just like, fuck, man. It just puts everything into perspective. Like, this guy is literally, his body is killing him, and he has been suffering, and he's just, to add on top of that, everyone that he loves so dearly fucking hates each other and fucking want to kill each other. And he's just like, please, like, for me, just stop doing this. And it's just, it was honestly, it was not hard to watch the second time, but it really hit me the second time, like watching by myself, like really paying attention. I was like, holy fuck, like I'm fucking cute eye welling emoji right now, maybe.
And I'm stealing this from a random tweet or Reddit post I saw because I just think it's perfect that the symbolism that they did in the show with Viserys was amazing with half of his face being rotted, and that's like the high tower side, and then there's the clean side of his face is just Rhaenyra in them, and like and this is where you get to see that he looks like Two-Face from Batman. Like his truly has no eye, like you can see inside his cheek and stuff. And so I'm sure that was very purposefully done to set them on those sides and make it like the rotting side is the high towers, and his pure side is the Targaryens. But I want to say 2 other things that are a little bit less serious, because I just think that I was laughing out loud at the part where, okay, so Aegon's messing with Jace and he goes a little bit too far and it causes Jace to freak out and he like slams his hands on the table and stands up. And then instantly on the other side, unrelated, Aemon just stands up too. Doesn't say any words. He just stares at him the whole time. And he gives the speech. And nobody even comments on the fact that Aemon's just standing up on the other side of the table, just like staring. I was like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah,
He
Allison
just
and
wants
Otto
to
like
fight.
look at him and then they look away.
He runs shit, dude. He totally runs shit on their side.
Yeah, the whole point of I feel like his episode, he doesn't say a ton. Obviously, he has the toast towards the end of the scene, but it's just like the idea of him this episode is that he's just a rider. Like he
Yes.
wants to smoke, he is ready to fight. Like he
Do
will,
something, bro. Do
yeah,
something.
he will defend
That's what he
his
wants.
like 100%.
Yeah.
Soon as they
And
brought
then-
the pig
yeah, go ahead.
out, I knew, like, I was like, that's actually really funny. And then Luke couldn't help but just giggle behind. Like, what do you want to get absolutely smushed like a bug? Don't laugh at him. Like, Aemon just like, a tote, one more tribute. Like, as soon as
Yeah,
he
he
sees
was
him laugh,
pissed.
scary.
So, but the last thing that happens before Viserys leaves that I think we have to bring up is just like we said, Helena's speech, but right before she gives the speech, she has another one of her little statements that she says, "Beware the beast beneath the boards." Fuck's that mean? Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
got
like they're
nothing.
dragons? Like that one to me, even though at this point it's kind of obvious that they're basically premonitions. Like, what are we supposed to take away from that, Kathleen? Because I got
Beast
nothing.
beneath the boards. What do you think? Let's break it down. Beast could be anything. Boards. Boards is what we have to focus on. Beneath
Boards
the
like
boards.
like ships, like Valerian ships, boards, like beasts beneath the boards could be like a sea monster, but I feel like that seems far-fetched.
I
like
was
something
thinking
like-
I don't know. I was
Beast
thinking all
beneath
different
the
kinds
boards
of
'cause-
things, but I don't know.
I tried. I totally tried to come up with something entertaining here, but I couldn't think of anything. It was just so obviously placed right there for the audience.
Well, here's the
and-
thing. When does she say it? Like,
right
who's
before her
talking?
speech.
Yeah, but is there anyone else speaking, or did anyone else just speak?
It's pretty much right after Jace gives his toast to the uncles,
Mm,
to
I don't know.
Aegon and Aemond.
I can't. I got nothing.
I mean, it's totally on purpose that the first one was not in the moment obvious, but it was very easy to catch it afterwards when we find out that Daemon loses his eye. The second one is, again, fairly obvious and just kind of general in that the blacks and the greens kind of stuff. And this one, so now they know everyone has their eyes and ears
Yes.
open for her.
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
this one is purposely so much more vague.
Well said. That's exactly what it is, and it's very smart.
Yeah, I mean, you're frustrated because they want you to be frustrated. Yeah,
One
and what
more
it is,
funny-
what I think it is
It's good?
insane.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be amazing.
I was just gonna say one last funny thing is when Allison does the prayer in the beginning and says like basically R.I.P. Vaemond. Damon's face so funny. He's just like
He laughs, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he
he
rolls
does.
his eyes. He's giggling like he's such a Matt Smith crushes it as Damon. I just want to give
So
this
good.
props.
He's so
All right.
unbelievably good.
But let's take it back to post because I know Kathleen was bringing up at least one of the things there with Eamon's speech. But what else did we have here? So okay, this is where is that actually the first thing that happened? Okay, the pig comes out and then it causes the Luke to laugh and then Aemon freaks out. And you were sitting right next to me, Kyle. I saw that from a mile away when he's like to the
Oh.
3 kids and he's like
Yeah.
he's like wise, tall, and strong, whatever it was. And he just like harps on
too.
that. And it was handsome, wise, gap, and strong. But what that turns into, how it like escalates to I think it's Jace punches Aemon first. And the funniest thing to me is instantly, without any other conversation, Aegon stands up, grabs Luke, and just fucking slams his face into the table. Like, he's kind of a rider too, even though he's not for his mom. But like, he sees his brother fighting one of Rhaenyra's kids. He just jumps right in, which was pretty
Yeah.
cool. But then that turns into the most epic stare down of all time between Aemon and Daemon, just not saying any words, and just after like 3 seconds, like Aemon just kind of looks away and just walks. It was just I loved watching it the second time. It was just awesome because that's gearing
they
up
were
for
both
the final
enjoying it.
fight. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think they were definitely both enjoying what was happening right there. Not the
Mhm.
fact that obviously Daemon doesn't want to see them like fight the kids, but just like Daemon getting a kick out of Aemond himself.
Yes, they are gonna. Oh, their relationship, whatever it's gonna be, they have to be like when one of them dies, it has to be from one of the other ones, or else sell the whole show. I don't want it.
Wait, you're saying Aemond and who?
And Daemon.
Eamon and Damon gotta fight. Like if that
Okay.
doesn't happen,
Love
like
it.
I don't like they're how Eamon is exactly how I had in my head Damon was pre 10-year time skip.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how he was. He wasn't clearly as extreme because he did have a little, I don't know, he just doesn't seem like as extreme as Eamon's building up to be. But it's basically like they're two of the same kind of people, but Eamon hasn't matured yet. And he actually is going to devolve into someone even more evil, is where he looks like he's going. And that just leads to the perfect confrontation between those two being like a final fight.
Damon's funnier. That's the difference.
Yeah,
Oh,
Daemon
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Damon can't help but get the last word and crack
Yes.
jokes and be an asshole, whereas Eamon chooses his words very carefully and is all. You're right, very intense. He's
Yeah,
very intense.
Aemon is all go like 100% of the time, while Daemon actually can like enjoy himself
Yeah.
Yeah.
at like the expense of other people. While everything to Aemon is like a fight.
Yes.
Yeah, while Daemon's perfectly fine, just like talking shit and calling you a cunt.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's a victory to him either way. So, and also, Aemon just completely eats that punch. He gets punched, literally smiles, and then just pushes him to the ground. So, clearly, our guy has been putting that work in.
Yep.
I do want to go back to the Allison Rainier conversation. We touched on it a little bit. This felt so out of left field that she's like, please come back. Like she was immediately like, we're 14 at the Godswood again. I'm obsessed with you type deal. Like, please come back. I miss you. Like, what did you guys think of that scene? Because I mean, I love it. Of course I love it. I was like, kiss.
Yeah,
kiss.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. I literally said it while we were watching. I was like, are they gonna kiss?
Yeah, like I was like, fuck yeah, the whole time. But I was also like, this came out of nowhere a little bit.
I think it just comes from the fact that she took her words as super genuine and like she doesn't think that Rainier has it out for her. And if Allison already conceded the fact that she's going to call her queen and commit to that, then everything's all good. I feel like in Allison's mind, but I don't know. We're going to see how their next conversation plays out. Because now she might just be all in on Viserys's dream, talking about the wrong Aegon to her, that she might just retract all this and be evil and viperous again towards Rhaenyra.
Yeah, I mean, we can literally jump to that. We already mentioned that the servant, I believe her name is Talia, meets up with Miss Arya to let her know. Well, she's going to let her know everything that's happened in the Red Keep. I'm just curious.
Let's talk about that for 1 second, though. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I just the
Because
question I was
want to
going to
know
throw
what
out
the,
there
what
was
the
just
play is.
like what? Wait, you want to know who is?
What her game is. Like, what the fuck what is she even doing? Because I thought originally she was in
money.
Otto's pocket.
I'm sure it's money.
But
She's
like,
probably in both her pockets.
But if she was in Otto's pocket, Otto probably already knows about this. Like, this isn't like information she can give to Otto.
Oh, you're saying Miss Arya.
Yeah, sorry, Miss Arya.
Oh, okay.
Because I feel like she was always with,
I mean,
with
is
Otto.
she still?
Yeah,
almost feels like it was. Yeah, it almost felt like I was almost a way to also confirm that she was not working with Otto again.
Right, and that's the surprising part because I thought that's what we decided she was doing, but I don't know like who she is. She gonna go?
I mean, that
give
was
this
16 years
information
ago.
to Daemon. That's true, but does that mean like I can't imagine she's pro Daemon because Daemon kind of just ditched her and doesn't care about her anymore. But that information would benefit Daemon and Rhaenyra a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I mean, she has a lot to gain by just having that information. The usefulness of that information is like pretty crazy. So I think that's just kind of where it's at. She's almost just like I almost said a middle figure. That just kind of will just go where the wind takes her, wherever the money is.
Where do you think she's going to ally, Kathleen?
I don't know. I was on the side that I mean, not that Kyle said, but that it's been 16 years. At first I was like, oh, she works for Otto, but then I'm like, 16 years, she's got her own gig now. She opened her own business. She did her apprenticeship. Now she's got her own little birds.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. She could just kind of be like an opportunist, like wherever pays the most, you know.
Yeah.
Is
an
she
opportunist
be
is
to Laris?
Yeah, maybe.
That could be a thing.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
Lara Strong this episode.
No, but he's got long hair in the next one.
Oh,
Grow it out a
okay.
little bit.
Yeah, but I think opportunist is a much better way to describe her than a middle finger. I think that's
Okay.
getting at it.
And was she someone in the books? I forget if you
Yeah.
said that or not.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, she is. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, she plays a big part in the books.
Cool.
So I guess that's maybe a little bit of a spoiler, but this was what I had meant I was going to say about the supper scene of that. Aemon's toast is like, that's pulled straight out of the books. Like, that is 100% like a book thing. I was looking forward to that. I was like, when Viserys was like, let's have the supper, and I was like, oh, let's have the supper. But the other thing also is
because that
Jace
picture
and
of him
Helena
holding the picture of Aemon holding the cup out. I saw this before the episode even dropped. That was like the promo picture. People were saying the book readers are ready for that scene. So I guess that's exactly what it was, and
Yeah.
it kind of lived up to what it was built out to be.
Yeah, and Jace and Helena dancing was like, that's also from the book. The book doesn't talk about a ton of things that happened at this little dinner thing, but that's literally like the two things that Prince Aemon made a toast to his strong nephews, and Jace danced with Helena.
It was
'Cause
so goofy and cute. Like, it's so
Aegon-
childlike.
Yeah, Aegon did not like that. Even
No.
though Aegon literally had just told Jace's betrothed that he would fuck her right, and then
Yeah.
Jace goes and dances with Helena, and Aegon's pissed.
Mhm.
Lena's kids ride for Jace and Luke already. I love them. They're like, babe. It's fine. Like,
Yeah, they're great.
Well, they're stepbrother and sisters now, also cousins.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
everything.
They're everything. And now
That's
they're
just like
married,
Viserys.
and now they're
Yeah, I mean,
Viserys is like,
Viserys-
I'm your brother, I'm your uncle, I'm your dad, I'm your grandsire, all at once.
Oh, you gotta love it, though. You gotta love it.
I do.
All right, so now we can dive into that last scene, Alicent and Viserys. It's just tough, man. It's Viserys is obviously off his gourd, and he believes that he's talking to Rhaenyra here, talking to Alicent, and of course, it's like the perfect words get through out of his mouth that could make Alicent think that he's talking about Aegon, their son, not Aegon the Conqueror, like he actually is talking about, and it leads to the misunderstanding of a lifetime, which will probably lead to a lot of people's lives ending, in that Alicent believes that Viserys is basically saying that Aegon should be the heir because he is the prince that was promised.
Leave it.
yeah.
So
I don't think
mad.
I have a lot to add here, to be honest. It's just
Bad.
it's yeah. I mean, it's like the prince that was promised, whatever.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I know you don't like that when they say that, but
I
I
hate
meant
that
more of
shit.
like the like it's going to be bad.
Yeah, I mean, like you said a couple episodes ago with the whole Sir Kristen Cole hate episode, the lack of communication in Westeros is going to murder people. Like, I can't imagine how Alicent doesn't have this motive, and somehow it gets brought up how Aegon needs to be the true heir, and Rhaenyra can't just like kind of explain what's going on. She can use the dad's dagger, burn it, and show the prophecy to her and be like, yo, come on, like, he didn't mean your fucking dumb rapist son. He meant the OG Aegon. Like, that's I don't know. I feel like that should be something that gets talked out, but it just won't because of the communication.
Oh yeah, no shot. They do give us
So-
a dagger shot though.
So Kyle, this is where the conversation kind of comes back. Can Alicent just straight up be like, on his deathbed, seconds before croaking, he told me this? Like, what if
Oh yeah.
she could have just said that, and he would, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, why not?
What?
She's totally gonna say that.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally where it's gonna go.
I mean, yeah, she literally says, "I understand."
No, I know, but I just feel like that's not a legitimate claim. Like, again, it comes back to, how do you declare it? Someone could just lie, smother him with a pillow, and then be bounced.
Yeah,
That's the name of the game.
I mean, that's what's gonna cause the war.
Yeah, I mean,
Literally.
history is written by the victors. Doesn't matter.
I was so
long as-
mad.
As long as you win, then you get to tell the truth. Shout out to my
Well,
boy
let's
Don
get our
Quixote Doflamingo.
hot takes in here and our MVPs, LVPs, because I'm curious to see what you guys said, because there's so much to pick from for for all of this, especially the
Luke,
hot take. I'm curious.
when you said that you said that Otto was going to kill Viserys, right? That was one of your hot takes, like episode 2 or episode 1
Yeah.
or something.
Mhm.
Okay. I thought maybe it was someone else, but I really thought that was going to happen for you. I thought that was a really good
happy
call.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want that. Once we hit like episode 3 and I started liking Otto a lot more as like just like an advisor, I'm happy it didn't turn out. But
Yeah, I mean, if
kinda
anything, he was
so.
extending his life.
yeah,
true.
that's very true. But I can go first for a hot take here. Because mine's really not that big of a deal, and I don't know if it's even hot. We'll see. But what I was gonna say is that like I finally could put to words of what I'm feeling about this whole Team Green versus Team Black thing, where it's weird because I think like I'm definitely rooting for Team Black. Like that's just signed, sealed, delivered. Like, come on, we're going for Daemon and Rhaenyra. Like they're the main characters. We're rooting for them. But I think I like Team Green better. And I don't know if that's like a hot take or not. I think I love the characters on Team Green more than I love the characters on Team Black, but I'm still rooting for Team Black just for like how the plot is rolling out. Is that dumb?
There are a couple names out there. Who do you like? Who?
Well, like
who you riding
obviously,
for on Green?
like I talking with Dave a little bit earlier, podcaster Dave, he was saying how he's the only person I think that says he's Team Green, and he still says he doesn't like Allison. And I like Allison a lot. And I don't know if that's just us three, because all three of us seem to really like Allison as a character. And I don't know what the general consensus is, but I like her. And it seems like people probably hate her, especially because of the attempt to kill Rhaenyra last episode. Aemon is turning out to be one of my favorite characters. Like he is just the best. And then I really like Helena now. Like she seems really fun. And then me, I'm Team Otto too. So it's like I love all of these Team Green players, but at the same time, and even Laris, because Laris is definitely Team Green as far as we know. And just like all these characters, besides Sir Kristen Cole, who kind of sucks, like they're all good. But then I'm rooting for Team Black. So I don't know. I don't know if that's like something I can do. I can root for Team Black, but like Team Green better.
I don't think that's crazy. I mean, it sounds wild when you say it out loud, but I do think that the Greens have more like overall interesting characters. But I feel like they almost have to try to compete with the fact that Rhaenyra and Daemon are the main characters.
Okay.
Like they need some type of boost to their side, and it comes in the form of they're all very interesting. They all have they're all like more. Although I mean, Aegon, even like you said, he's one-dimensional, but there is like a little bit of like emotional trauma involved with him and things like that. I think they all have like almost more like developed and like richer characters versus like Luke and Jace. I mean, Jace seems like a good boy. Luke seems like a good boy, but that's kind of it. They're like kind of dutiful sons. They're fairly milk toast, in their way. The Lena and Daemon's daughters are cool to us kind of, but at the same time, like we don't really know anything about them. We haven't really seen them do anything.
Yeah, okay. You're kind of making me feel better about my opinion, because it's also kind of similar to Jon Snow. Like Jon Snow's not my favorite character, but I'm always rooting for him throughout Game of Thrones. Like regardless of what's going on, like I'm pushing for his side, even though I loved like Arya and I loved Littlefinger as just like a presence. Like I guess that's kind of how I'm feeling about it. Because I don't want Aemon to win and kill Daemon. Like that sounds awful, even though I love Aemon. So that's kind of how I'm like a little conflicted about it.
They're way more interesting characters. Lara Strong has done so many more like wild things to advance the show than like Jace, Luke, Baela, Rhaena, all of them combined.
Yeah.
I mean, the Blacks have Daemon, Rhaenyra, Corlys, who is a little bit, he's on the IR at the moment, and Rhaenys, and that's kind of where we're at. And Lord Caswell.
Yeah, Lord Caswell, right.
And do not forget Lord Caswell.
Yeah.
That's a good one,
Give me a
Luke.
hot take.
My hot take is that I can't believe anyone would ever fight for this throne. Like, let me be just super highborn and fucking around. Like, I'm not going to say Aegon because fuck that guy, but like, I would be Helena, just happy to be there, not fighting for a throne. I mean, of course, she's technically marrying Aegon, who then she'll be a consort if he becomes whatever. give me the easy thing. Give me all the privilege in the world with no responsibility, baby. If I'm Rhaenyra, I might be like, just give it to Daemon back in the day. Like, just give it to him. If he really wants it, just fucking give it to him.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And I think that's why they added in the whole Aegon's dream thing.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because to her now it's bigger than just her.
Yeah,
I think
that's true.
even in this episode, she whispers to Viserys, like, I'm not even sure I want it anymore, type deal. So,
but she feels like she has to now because he told her the dream and the story, and she has a duty to do.
Yeah.
My hot take will be, Kathleen said it earlier, nothing Vaemond said was wrong.
Yeah.
He was totally well within his rights to act the way he did. I mean, her kids are totally bastards. Yeah, the whore line might have been too far. Probably was too far. But, I mean, he was so dead on with like, yo, we fucking survived the doom of Valyria. Only 2 families did that, and I'm about to get done in by a couple bastards. Like, that ain't gonna fly. And, like, I could totally see where he's coming from.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic to watch him die, but
now you start with top and bottoms.
Oh, you know what? And I'll add on to my hot take in that they should have done it the way the book did it, because in the book, Daemon does kill him, but then Rhaenyra feeds him to Cyrax.
Whoa.
That's awesome.
Which would have been sick, yeah.
That is sick.
Yeah.
But we probably didn't have the budget for that. All right, tops and bottoms. Oh. Top? I'm so tempted to say Viserys just one more time.
Yeah.
But I don't think I can do that because of just how fucked up he was. So I will say my top's going to be Daemon. Because, yeah, Daemon just had a fantastic episode.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I mean, obviously the death is very flashy. It wasn't maybe as involved as he's been in other episodes, but just everything that he did felt like it was the right move and the right thing to say. And my bottom will be Aegon.
Damn it.
Because we don't fuck with
rapers. How can you
rapers.
not say Aegon?
Yeah.
I know. So I'm going to go with Viserys because I was between Daemon and Viserys. Daemon just crushed it for me this episode. And my bottom, because Aegon is taken, I'm going to say Sir Kristen Cole.
Boo.
For a 3rd episode running.
Boo.
Good answer. Good,
My
good
man
answer.
can't catch a
Family
break.
Feud. Good answer.
Yeah. But actually, Aegon, fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, my MVP, just because I'm a biased little bitch over here, I'm gonna say Aemond. He's the guy. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm all in, honestly. And then my LVP is gonna be Aegon, but for an additional reason is that he's just a bad husband to Helena because she's great. Like, what the fuck? You're not gonna make her
come on.
happy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a bit of a smack, ain't he? All right. So I guess I will end the coverage before we get into our marching orders from James about our outro.
But we also need to say where this ranks, like if it's your favorite, second, or not.
It's up
Just like-
there. It was great. It's
yeah,
not my top.
I think 7's 1A and this is 1B.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I feel too. I think 7 is slightly better, but this is right there.
Yeah. I think 9 is going to be 1. I think 9 is definitely going to be better than these.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I am like, I bought in a little bit to the hype of this episode, but I'm buying in fully to the hype for 9.
Wait, are you guys going to watch the Eagles game instead of House of the Dragon?
Yeah, probably.
So we're not watching live together.
Probably not.
Okay.
All right. So my parting words will be just reading the quote of Viserys' death from House of the Dragon of, "Then Viserys of House Targaryen closed his eyes and went to sleep. He never woke. He was 52 and had reigned over most of Westeros for 26 years. Then the storm broke and the dragons danced."
Damn.
So
Epic.
that's where we're at. That's the book. The chapter ends on that, and that is where we exactly are at this point in the story of the TV show. So
Where in the book is that? Like, if you give me like one of these, if the book is this thick, how
want me
far?
to give you the little dicky measurement,
Yeah.
Like a
fuck, I don't
percentage.
know. Oh,
Yeah.
percentage wise, it might be like 57%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
made that up. But
I'm happy that you said that though, because I did want to bring up that he was like 50. Like he was so young.
I mean, Damon is like barely aged in this 20 years we've seen, like just a little
Yeah.
bit, obviously. Rhaenys barely, everyone. He's dead.
Yeah, Damon and in the books, Damon and Rhaenyra get married, and Damon's 39, and she's like 23 or 22, I think. But the ages are so different in the show, so it's tough.
Yeah.
All right, so that is all she wrote for us. Episode 8, House of the Dragon, the Lord of the Tides, who was confirmed to be Lucerys Valerian. If you like what you heard and you're not subscribed on whatever, I always mess up this word. It's not system. It's not whatever the hell you're listening on or watching on. If you would please subscribe, we would love that. We'd very appreciate it. We are doing a ton of podcasting right now. Vampire Academy, Rick and Morty season has been fantastic. The new Mike Flanagan show, The Midnight Club, we're also covering that television show, and probably more to come. I mean, geez, there's just so much television coming out right now and planned for the rest of the year. Follow us on our socials if you want to keep up to date with us at Bingetown TV on Twitter and Instagram. We also have a Patreon if you're feeling super, super, super generous. Patreon.com/BingetownTV. We would appreciate any and all donations you would like to make. And yeah, that's all I got.
Love you.
Love you too.